Hey, 8th grade. So today we are going to be doing a video in the independent station that's going to go through all of your independent work and review it with you. So by the end of the day today, you should have everything filled in your on your page that says Wednesday, February 24th, 2016. So please flip to this page, and everything that I'm writing, you need to be writing. All my annotations you need to be making. And anytime I'm asking you to go ahead and try to do something on your own, I want you to try and do that on your own before you watch the video to go over the correct answer. The more that you try to figure things out independently, the better you're going to understand it, because everything will be reviewed on this video. So what we're talking about today is comparing and contrasting. And we know that when we compare and contrast, we show the similarities and the differences. So what is the same and what is different, either about the texts, about the author's arguments, about people's arguments in the text. It could be about many different things. We compare and contrast all different types of text. But we can also call comparing and contrasting connections and distinctions. So whenever you hear connections and distinctions, you should think of similarities and differences, or comparing and contrasting. A connection is what's similar, what makes the two things similar, or what connects the two ideas. And distinctions means differences. What is the difference between either the two arguments, the two texts, the two purposes, whatever it is you're analyzing. Connections and distinctions is the same as similarities and differences is the same as compare and contrast. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be rereading the first two sections of our article, The Great Immigration Debate, and we're going to annotate for the connections or distinctions that you find between Aaron Goheen and Andres Gamboa. So once again, our connections or distinctions is the same as, compare and contrast, as well as similarities and differences. So what I'm going to do is read this first section called Hitting Home. The end of this section, we're going to go over some connections or similarities and distinctions or differences that we see between our two students, Aaron Goheen and Andres Gamboa. Hitting home. Aaron Goheen and Andres Gamboa are both students at the University of Arizona, and they both grew up in the state. But when it comes to the topic of immigration, they don't have much in common. Goheen, a 20-year-old senior from Phoenix, blames illegal immigrants for Arizona's crime problem, which has gotten so bad, she says, that she's afraid to be out on city streets after dark. That's why she supports Arizona's tough new immigration law, which gives local police broad power to arrest anyone they think might be in the country illegally, and makes it a crime for all non-citizens not to carry immigration papers. I am more than thrilled about this law, she says. I've read it more than 20 times. I have it printed out and take it with me almost everywhere. So first of all, we're going to talk about Aaron Goheen's claim. So we've talked about this a few times. Goheen believes that immigrants are to blame for Arizona's crime, and she claims that Arizona's tough new immigration laws are good and are going to solve that problem. So Goheen claims that immigrants are to blame for crime and the tough laws are a good thing. Those are two of our claims by Goheen. But what I want to look at is at the beginning of this section, Hitting Home, we have some connections, some similarities between Aaron Goheen and Andres Gamboa. I'm going to write one, and then I'm going to see if you can get the other one that we see right here. So the first connection that I see is that both Goheen and Gamboa are students at the University of Arizona. So both are students at the University of Arizona. I'm going to take a second to write in the other connection that we see from this section of the page. So what is the other thing that these two have in common? go ahead and write it in under our first connection. Great. So if you got that both are from the state of Arizona or grew up in the state of Arizona, that is our other connection. Now, we can already tell some of the distinctions that we're going to see between the two. We know it's going to be about immigration laws, but I'm going to go ahead and wait to put in my distinctions until I know what the other side of the argument is. Split sides. But to Gamboa, an 18-year-old freshman from Tucson whose parents are Mexican immigrants, the new law is simply a threat. Born in California, Gamboa is a U.S. citizen, and he says his parents are here legally. But that hasn't prevented scary run-ins with authorities, who he says recently tried to search his family's home in the middle of the night for no good reason. He fears the new law will only make things worse for Hispanics in Arizona. It's a law based on racism, he says. I know a lot of people who are afraid of going out in the street. They just take their children to school and go right home. They feel like their safety is threatened. Goheen and Gamboa represent the sharp divide not only between Arizonans, but also among Americans in general on the subject of immigration. Arizona's tough new immigration law has reignited the national debate and put a spotlight on Washington's failure to tackle this issue at the federal level, leaving a vacuum some states and cities are trying to fill. An estimated 12 million illegal immigrants live in the United States, with about 7 million from Mexico. While there are illegal immigrants in every state, they are concentrated in California, Texas, Florida, New York, New Jersey, and Arizona. So what I'm going to do now is first I'm going to write, if you haven't already, Gamboa's claim. So Gamboa claims what about the new immigration laws? So Gamboa claims that the new immigration laws are racist and a threat. So what we can tell right away is we have a distinction between our two students. While they're both from Arizona, while they both go to the University of Arizona, they definitely have a different view or a contrasting view about immigration laws. I'm going to do the first distinction, and then I'm going to have you guys try on your own. So I'm going to use our first part of each claim, that Goheen claims that immigrants are to blame for crime, while Gamboa claims that the laws are a threat to actually those immigrants. So Goheen claims that immigrants are a threat, while Gamboa claims that the new laws are a threat. So they kind of disagree, or there's a distinction between what they believe to be the biggest threat. What I want you to do now is to look for another distinction between what Goheen believes and what Gamboa believes about the immigration laws. Good. So if you have something like this, Goheen supports while Gamboa believes the laws are racist. That would be another distinction between the two. There's also some of the other details you could use, that Goheen is thrilled about the law, while Gamboa fears that the law will make things worse for Hispanics. Any of these details that are underlined, we could use as a distinction. Now, I want us to look for one more connection between the two students. So go ahead and scan the split side section and see if you can find another connection. If you were thinking that a connection would be that Goheen and Gamboa represent the divide between Americans on immigration laws, that's what our other connection is right here, that they're a representation of how Americans in general feel. So what you're going to do now is just make sure you have all of this information complete. Make sure you have your annotations. And once you're finished with that, you can log on to the Quizlet site and start studying your research vocabulary. Good luck.